favorite things to talk about. I am a huge nerd when it comes to organization and time and task management. I can talk about it all day. So, and I love talking to creatives because I find that the CEOs I work with, majority of the time, they have the creative bone, they have that creative mind and the idea mind, and they need someone like me to organize all of it. So, that is why we do what we do. So let me share my screen here and we can get started. Okay, so this is effective time and task management. It's tips to hack your productivity for success. This is going to be are you able to grab the people from the waiting room still? Because there's 3 people in there.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I'll add.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be there's a million different methods to do time management, task management, and everything. I'm going to go through the few that I do on a regular basis myself. These are things that I do all the time. These are things that my clients do that we work with them to implement. And like such as said, we'll have time at the end for Q&A, but we'll go through the presentation for the most part, just run through this, and then I'll answer questions at the end. But to give you a little information about me, my company is called BC Creative. We are a systems strategy and business operations company, an agency for boutique private practices. That's a niche that we just kind of narrowed down to. We found that primarily all of the clients we were working with were mental health practitioners, small boutique health, holistic coaches, things like that. And those are the people that we really thrive with CEO support, but they're also very creative people as well. So what we do is create systems. We do day-to-day task management. We create full project management builds, so on and so forth. So we do a lot of growth strategy consulting as well. So a lot of that is organizing other people's lives. So this is something that, like I said, we implement all the time. To tell you a little bit about me, I am an efficiency and productivity expert. I founded BC Creative in 2020 during the pandemic. It was in July. It was after getting laid off from my job and all of that, as I'm sure a lot of you know. But in the time that we have been open, so about 3.5 years, we've created over 200 business systems. We've supported over 45 businesses. We are certified ClickUp experts, which is a project management tool. We're certified Hyver experts, which is a help desk, kind of like Zendesk or Freshdesk. And then we're a preferred Google referral partner as well. So we work with Google Workspace all the time. So all of that to be said, we build systems regularly. We create efficiencies regularly. And then in my personal life, I also use all of this because I am a wife and a mom of 2 small children. They're 1 and 4. So a lot of juggling everything. My son is autistic, so that comes with case management of all of his therapies and everything. So there's a lot of different things that go on. Head of household, I'm in charge of all the finances and everything. So with all of that, there's about 1.5 million balls in the air that I have to juggle. So being efficient is like the key to success in my life. So I practice all of this daily. So first, we're going to talk about task management and then go into time management. It kind of flows really well that way. So the thing that I always tell people is to prioritize your tasks. We know, I'm sure all of you know, that there are probably 800 tasks on your to-do list right now, like all the things that are running through your brain, all the things that we all have to get done, whether it's for our job, it's for our, let me add someone. Whether it's for our job, whether it's for our business, whether it's for kids and, doctor's appointments and all of that. So prioritizing those tasks is really figuring out what's most important, what has to be done now, and figuring out what order you need to do everything in. These are there, and if you Google prioritizing task methods, there are probably 50 different methods. These are the ones that we see on a regular basis. I'm only going to go through the two that we use on with our clients, depending on how their brain works. But if you don't like the two that I'm going to talk about, Google it and see all of these methods are fantastic. And that's one thing that we talk a lot about with our clients is that when it comes to efficiency, when it comes to creating processes and creating task management, it really depends on how your brain works. So it really is, if this just does not make sense to you, there is another way that will make sense to you. So just don't give up. There's always a way to make it make sense for you. So like I said, these are 8 different ones. I didn't want to add all of them, but yeah, we're gonna go to the next slide. So because of all of this, I think I've tried all of them. I have implemented a bunch of different ones. I never really got one that really worked for me. So I created my own. And this is, I call it the BC Creative Method. I know it's a super creative title. But this is how we teach our clients to create prioritization. This is how I do it. I'm sure as a lot of you had, 2023 was a really rough year. It's just, I feel like we're all coming out of pandemic stress and overwhelm and everything still, and everything kind of came to a head in 2023. We had an insanely busy fall, a lot of sickness in our family, a lot of just everything going on. And all of my normal hacks and tips and tricks just weren't working. So I actually created this method and I've now implemented it with all our clients. And it really is like the best thing that I have ever done for my life as far as creating efficiencies. It really helps with mental capacity. It helps with executive function skills, and we'll go through all of that in a minute. But so I'm going to break down the steps for you right now. So the BC Creative Method, first things first, brain dump everything. Grab a piece of paper, grab a spreadsheet, whatever makes sense for you. I find I really like writing things down first. There is correlation between writing things down and how your brain processes it. So that's how I always start, is writing pen to paper. And this is not just like big projects. This is like switch the laundry over, eat lunch, schedule that appointment. And then also like, create that website, do this thing, do this project, print these shipping labels, like everything that you could possibly think of, even things like projects you want to start 10 months from now. Put that down, because that little thing that's like in the back of your head is taking up mental space, and it's constantly coming up, maybe like once a week, once a day, whatever. If you write it down and know it's in a safe spot, you don't have to think about it anymore. And that creates more mental space for what you need to handle today, tomorrow, next week. So after you brain dump everything, we're going to take each task and write approximately how much time the task will take. This is, I find, really difficult when you first start to do this, because a lot of times we think a task is going to take 5 minutes and then it takes 35 minutes. So the more you do it, the more you realize like, okay, I know how much time to estimate. And it's just a learning curve. And all of this is very fluid. So the more you do it, so obviously a lot of tasks that we do in our businesses, in our hobbies and everything, they're repeatable tasks. They're tasks that we do on a regular basis. So knowing how much time those take will be really helpful when you start managing your time and doing things like time blocking, which we'll talk about later. So next thing I want you to do is write how much time the task will take. Another thing which I didn't add in the method is if you need to categorize your tasks based on like home, like family, self, work, whatever, I do that too. I categorize them by like home and then by client. And that really helps me look at things as well. Next, we are going to drop all of these tasks into different categories. First category is ASAP, next is urgent, next is needs to happen, and then can wait and back burner. So this is how we're going to break it down. The ASAP, these are tasks that have got to be done in the next 72 hours. They are non-negotiables, and you can only put 5 tasks total, because we all know that everything needs to be done ASAP, everything. So limiting it to 5 tasks really makes you think, okay, what actually has to get done? And then you can see you've already put those time limits or approximate time on each of those tasks. So you know, okay, if I have 5 tasks in my ASAP that each take an hour, I need to make 5 hours of room somewhere in the next few days. The next category is urgent. That's a maximum of 10 tasks. These are the ones that have to be done this week. and then needs to happen are tasks that have to be done soon but can wait. They can, they can be pushed a little bit. And then the can wait ones are things that have to get done but don't necessarily have a deadline, but probably in the next month, couple months. And then back burners are just tasks and ideas for the future. Those are things that you want to do, that, that task or that project that you dropped on your brain dump that's going to be 10 months from now. That's where you want to put that back burner. And obviously these can shift a little bit based on your needs, but this is the template that we work with. So once we drop all of those into categories, within each category, we're going to number the tasks in order of importance. And the reason we do this is because of our executive function skills. So if, say, we have 5 tasks in ASAP, we are going to number those 5 tasks. Okay, which ones have to get done first? And then number them 1 to 5. In the urgent category, if there's 10 tasks, label them 1 to 10, which ones need to get done first. So I like to add them into a program called Airtable, and I've actually linked my template for the Airtable, so you can click it and get it for free. Airtable is a spreadsheet database hybrid cloud-based software. It's free. There's paid versions, but the free version is fantastic. But if you want to grab that has everything set up how you need it. And I'll show you it as well. But we're going to number the tasks in order of importance and when they need to be done. So, okay, why does this method work? If you've never heard of executive function skills, these are the mental processes that enable us to plan, focus our attention, remember instructions, multitask, etc. Have you guys ever had analysis paralysis where you're just like, I have so much to do that I'm just going to sit here and stare at the wall. Like, I literally can't figure out what to do next. I'm so overwhelmed. So things that create analysis paralysis and drain those executive function skills are having to stop and think about which tasks to accomplish next. I mean, how many times have all of us completed a task and we're like, okay, let me look at my to-do list. Which task do I do next? And then you waste 10 minutes trying to figure out what you do next. And then maybe that your time is up and you have to go pick up your kids or make dinner or whatever. Another thing is just looking at your entire to-do list and being super overwhelmed because you don't even know where to start. And then also another big thing that drains your executive function skills is switching between different task types. So if you're like answering an email over here and then creating, let's say if you knit, you're knitting over here and then you see an email come in, then you drop what you're doing, you're answering an email. It will take you longer to go back and forth because you're switching modes in your brain than it will for you to finish this task and then go to this task. So if you're constantly switching back and forth, it's taking longer. And that's why this helps, because it's as you're numbering it, so you have all of your tasks in order. So you don't have to even think about what task you're going to do next. You just go boom, 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 boom. Like, these are the tasks I need to be done. I've already told myself that this is the order I'm going to do it, and it's non-negotiable. I can't argue with myself. So this is the order that we're going to go in. So here is let me go here. So the brain dump and priority task list. So this is what the Airtable template looks like. So I just have some, sample things in here, let's say 6 different tasks. I categorize them. And again, you can delete this if you don't want to do that. I just have some just sample information in here. Task time, I have drop down so you can just give yourself a couple examples. And then from here with the brain dump, we can go to priority order. And then now all of these, sorry, I have that wrong. Come on. I had a hidden field that shouldn't have been hidden. Okay. And then this is where we add the priority level. So the great thing about Airtable is that you can see the same information in a bunch of different views and see the data in different ways without having to resort and all of that like a spreadsheet works. So in the priority order, I can see they're grouped already by priority level and they're sorted by the priority number. So I can change this too. And if I have another task, let's say task 7, then I can add that here and then it automatically reorders it for me. It takes a second. So that way I really like Airtable for this, because then I can, as I get rid of my ASAP tasks and check them all off, which is, you can check it off here. So you get that that satisfaction of checking off your to-do list, and it just goes away. Like if you go like that, boom, it's gone. It's not gone, but it's gone away from, what you're looking at. And then from here, I can say, okay, those are all done. Now I can move these up to ASAP. And then you can constantly move things around because this is very, very fluid. You can constantly move it around. You can constantly shift things based on what's going on in your life. And, maybe that one thing that was super, super urgent isn't really urgent anymore. And you can back it down to like needs to happen. So this is very, you're able to shift and move through this, which is really, really great. So now that you have, your brain dump, you have all of your tasks laid out, what needs to happen. And actually, let me go back. Having that brain dump and having all of this set up, I will tell you the amount of clarity you will have and amount of brain space that you will have to be creative, to have times where you can actually think about maybe growth of your company, what your next project is going to be, be more present with your kids. I mean, the sky is the limit with that. And as cheesy as that is, but it really does create so much weight lifting off your shoulders because you have it all in a safe place. You have all of your thoughts in one spot. You don't have it constantly like floating around in your head. And you're able to move things around and basically take everything that's in your head and all of and I don't know if your guys' brain works like this, but mine, like I'm constantly shifting things around. I'm like, okay, no, I have to do this today and I have to do this tomorrow. And then wait, this has to be done next week and so on and so forth. So putting it into something like Airtable or on paper, it's like I can see my brain elsewhere. And that really does help because then you can actually move the pieces around in a way that is separate from your brain. I know that sounds really weird, but promise it helps. So the next thing, once you kind of have your brain dump and everything, I really like to do what's called task batching. And that's combining multiple tasks of the same type and do them all at the same time. So I'll give you an example of what we do, and then we can do examples of other things if you guys want to drop in the chat. So for our business, we do a lot of inbox management. So I will go in, or like my team will go in, and in the first thing in the morning, we do all of our inbox checking. So we go through and check every single inbox, kind of clear it out, see what needs to be done, star things that need to be done. And then after we check all the inboxes, then we go back into each one and do the separate tasks or projects or whatever. So that way it's a lot easier to essentially go through. It's a lot faster because we are in that same frame of mind. Let's see. Anybody? Does anybody have like tasks that they do in their business that, I put some examples down. Like if you have admin tasks where maybe you have an Etsy store and you're looking at Etsy orders or something, and then you're checking email, like those two tasks would be batched together. Printing shipping labels and then packaging all of your projects or something, those would be added together. And then if you have, say you have a store or something and you have multiple different things that you provide, or you have different creative modes, all of the projects within specific modes or specific mediums will be done around this in the same kind of time frame. So that way you're in that same frame of mind. There we go. So when you're task batching, these are the two task management systems that we use in DC Creative. And they're basically opposites. So Eat the Frog, I don't know if you guys have heard of that. I think like CrossFit and those people do something like Eat the Frog. It's basically doing your most difficult, most challenging task first. So that way you just get it over with. You're not dreading it anymore. And it can be a task that's challenging because it's going to take a really long time. And you're like, I don't want to sit here for 3 hours and do this one thing. Or you just don't want to do it. It's something that you don't like doing. It's just something that you just have to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. You're not sure how to go about do it. That is a big hindrance for a lot of people. It's like, I'm not entirely sure what the process is, so I don't even want to start it. And then if it requires a tough skill, so if it's a skill that you have, but it is difficult mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, those are ones that are challenging as well. So eating the frog is completing the biggest, most difficult task first. On the flip side, a snowball effect, and I'm sure you've heard this with like debt consolidation and things like that, is really taking the smallest things first. Well, snowball, it's slightly different definition, but completing the smallest and easiest task first, and that kickstarts your productivity because you're checking off a bunch of things really fast, and then you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of like if you're doing something, you're like, okay, if I can do this for 2 minutes, I can do this for 30. So it's really pushing yourself into that productive mindset. So things like creating a to-do list. You can create to-do list on your to-do list, and once you're done, check it off. Like that gives a dopamine hit, and that really, it does work. Even like brush your teeth, make your bed, respond to one particular email, like all of those things are fair game putting on your to-do list so that you can kickstart and kind of hack your productivity. So I personally love the snowball effect. I love getting the easy stuff out of the way so that way I can, because if I can get, say I have 10 tasks on my to-do list and 5 of them are fairly easy and take me like 30 minutes, then I already have half my task list done. So I prefer the snowball method, but I know a lot of people that love eat the frog method as well. And those are the two that I think are the simplest to implement. And so those are the two that I shared with you. And of course, because they're polar opposites as well. So once you figure out kind of what you want, this is where we're coming into the time management piece. And I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. So one of my favorite time management techniques is time blocking. This is really a love or hate thing for a lot of people, mostly because a lot of people try to implement it and it just doesn't work because they're not really sure how to time block. So this is I will show you exactly how I do it. I'll show you on my calendar. It simplifies, I personally think it simplifies the way you can time block, and it really shows you how much time you actually have to do the tasks that you have. And that goes back to doing things like creating that estimated time for each task. So if you know how much time you have in your time blocking, you can go back and say, okay, I have 3 hours available and I have these tasks that are going to take about 2.5. I can get all of those done in this time. And then you don't have to think about which task comes next because you already have them in order. So what we're going to do is start by blocking off non-negotiable times. So, dinner time, school pickup, if you have another job, things like that, block those off completely because that's time that's already taken up. That's time that's already pinned and everything. That's gone. And then look at your list that we made earlier, your ASAP list, see how much time each task is going to take. And I'll be honest, sometimes if I only have a certain amount of time, if I have like an hour and all my ASAP tasks are an hour plus, I'll go into my needs to happen or my urgent and tick off some of the ones that are a little bit smaller. So again, that list is completely fluid. And then we create blocks based on those tasks. And then we can fill in additional blocks with other work that needs to happen. And also don't forget to schedule breaks, because if you don't, or you don't have buffer time, you're going to get really stressed out. So I am going to show you, let's see, my calendar. That is not my calendar. So let me show you next week. So this is my real calendar. This is my personal and my work calendar. So what I do, I use Google Cal, and this can be done with iCal. It can be done with, if you use Microsoft, that software, really anything. But you're going to create a separate, like an overlay calendar. So I come down here. If you're using Gmail, you can hit this plus button over here and hit create new calendar. And I'm going to call this time block. And this I really like because you can toggle this calendar on and off. Okay, so you can toggle this on and off. So I really don't like my calendar to be cluttered. It drives me crazy. So I like to have the overlay so that way we can kind of take it on and off and see, I can see my full calendar with my time blocking and what my actual events are. So down here, you can actually change the color if you want, make it whatever you want. So first things first, so my kids get up around 6 a.m. My husband brings them to preschool. By the time they get out the door and I eat breakfast, it's about 8 a.m. So I'm going to just put in here breakfast, kids to school, and I am going to block that. I'm going to change the calendar down here to time blocking. Oop, time block. That's the new one we started. And it doesn't matter if it's busy or free. If you have your calendar linked to different software, it doesn't matter because this one is not going to be linked. And then I repeat that for every weekday. So every weekday, that is going to be 6 to 8. And then I pick up my kids. I have to leave the house at 2. So I do mom time from 2 to about they're in bed by 7. We eat dinner, say 8 o'clock. And then sometimes because, life, I get back on to work. So I do that every weekday. So now, as you can see, I really know exactly how much time that I have. And you can see per week, I know exactly how much time I have to do what I need to do. So like days like this and like these are really, there's not a whole lot of time. But Monday, I have a lot of time for projects. So this would be a great time for me to do like a 3-hour block or something. So from here, I'm going to just show you what I normally do. So 8 to 9, I usually do my inboxes and I look through my task list. Oops. And so I'm just going to put that there. And then, so on every other week, I do payroll for a couple clients, and I'll just say payroll for one client. I'm going to do this. Payroll usually takes me about 10 to 15 minutes. However, I know that when I go into their EHR system and I go into their inbox, there's going to be other things that I am going to take care of. And because I'm already in the mindset of working on their things and running reports, I will probably just address that then, because then I don't have to go back into that client. So I like to add buffer time. So if it takes me 10 minutes, I'm sure there's going to be other stuff I have to deal with. So I'm going to add 30 minutes. And I'm going to put that there. And then let me add just another one, say project A. And then drop this. It is a little bit tedious, but what I do is at the end of my work day, I set up my blocks for the next day. So that way I have it all out of my head. I'm not running through my to-do list nonstop while I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep at 1 a.m. And then the next morning I can get up, eat breakfast, and just start because I already have my day planned out. And then I'm going to put a break here. Now that sometimes, I'll be honest, is my buffer time where if I get distracted or something, because that always happens. If I get distracted during the rest of my blocks, I know that I have this time that I can add in. And that can also be lunch as well. I highly recommend budgeting time for lunch, for dinner, because if not, you will just work through, at least if you're like me, and that's just not good for anybody. So that is really how I time block, and I will go through the entire day, look at my entire to-do list, and block out everything. So that way I know exactly what I need to do. Now, during those time blocks, sometimes it's like, okay, well, I have my task list. Maybe there's 10 different tasks within a project, and you need to really focus. Sometimes, we have an hour and then we just end up scrolling on our phone or doing whatever. I don't know about you guys, but I really like racing the clock. I think it's like, ooh, like when you're driving with Google Maps and, it says ETA at 11:24 and you're like, challenge accepted. At least that's how I am. That is where a Pomodoro technique comes in. And that is the next thing we're going to talk about. Pomodoro technique is a time management method where you break up your work into intervals and breaks. So traditionally, it is a work block for 25 minutes, and then you take a short break for 5, and then you do 25, 5, 25, 5, however many times you want. And then you take a long break to really reset your brain, and then just repeat that as many times needed. I dropped a free Pomodoro tool right here for you guys to have in the resources. It is the one that I use on a regular basis. I love it. It is just a web-based Pomodoro. I know iPhones have a Pomodoro timer as well, so you can kind of look through that. I'm not sure about Androids or Google phones. But what I do is when I have my time blocking, so say at, in my 8 a.m., I have inboxes. So I am going to, in my 25 minutes, I'm going to add a task. Let's see, my Tate inbox, if I can type, and we'll do ledger inbox. You can approximate how many pomos these are going to take. I don't do that. I just add the list. And then really you hit start. If I know, okay, I can get these both done in 25 minutes, I'm going to hit start. And then it counts down for you and it has a little ding when it's done. So that way, as you can check them off, you can check them off here. That gives you extra endorphins boost because you're checking it off here and then you're also checking it off over here. If it's on your task list. But this also helps, going back to the task time approximation, it helps you figure out how many things you can do within these Pomodoro work times. Another thing this helps with too is say that when you're time blocking, you approximate an hour for project A, but it really took you 3 hours. Next time you do a project like that, you know that it's going to take you approximately 3 hours. So then you can block that time accordingly. That way you don't stress yourself out and get behind or, whatever. So Pomodoro technique, highly recommend. And then you can change, this one specifically has 5-minute breaks and 15-minute breaks. You can change those settings up here. You don't have to create an account. It's really easy to use. But that is something that I use regularly to really, if creating my to-do list and all of that doesn't help, Pomodoro's is the thing that kickstarts my productivity because it's something like, okay, can I get all this done in 25 minutes? Yeah. Okay, let's go. So that is really, really helpful, I find, when I'm just kind of dragging. So additional tips. So that's really, those are the big task and time management things that I work with my clients all of the time. They all obviously interconnect, they're all incorporated, and there's a reason to all of the different steps. There's a method to the madness, and it does really, really help. And it's something that you can implement and kind of step away from and then re-implement. You don't have to be on it nonstop. You don't have to have your ish together all the time. But a couple other things that I recommend too is doing a physical and mental space reset. So brain dumping is a massive mental space reset, especially if you're writing things down. Journaling obviously helps as well. If you're trying to flesh out a new project or a new art piece, writing it down is a great way to do that. Physical space reset, if you're just not feeling inspired, if you're feeling kind of blah, if you find you're just just scrolling your phone, move to a different room, go to a coffee shop if you're able to. Moving to a new location really resets your brain as well. Like, okay, I'm in a new spot. I have a little bit more energy. Let's start this over. And then decluttering your space. If you have a ton of stuff on your desk, find a different spot for it. Declutter, stack things nice and neat. Having a declutter session, even if you do it like in your kitchen or whatever, if you take 5 minutes or 20 minutes and just go clean something, I promise you will be like, okay, I'm more productive. I feel a lot better. Let's do this. So when in doubt, reset. And then the 3 things method, I do this every day. It's something that I implemented during COVID when we were all kind of in that, what is happening every day. But do 3 easy things to start your day. It can be brush your teeth, make your bed, straighten up your room. Mine are make my bed, eat a protein heavy breakfast so that it's giving me fuel for the day and I don't feel like crap all day. And then write my to-do list or reset my ASAP urgent order so that way I know what I'm working on that day. So the 3 things method really kind of kickstarts that productivity before you even start on your to-do list. So everything that we've gone over today, you can implement at work and at home. A Pomodoro timer. Sometimes I use that when I'm cleaning my house and I really don't want to. I find that, Windows has a built-in Pomodoro too. Perfect. That's awesome. And Spotify widget. That's cool. Thanks, Linda. That's in the chat. She dropped a link for you guys. But cleaning your house, if you have to clean your house or you're trying to spot clean, 25 minutes to see how much we can get done. And then it's kind of almost like a game. So it's tricking your brain into thinking, oh, this is fun, even though no one likes cleaning their house. Um, so that is, you can implement these things in all aspects of your life. So I am always available for consulting, for time management, for task management. You can always reach out to me on any of email, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm usually just on LinkedIn and email, but I'm, doom scrolling on Instagram all the time anyway. Questions about time management, task management. We are implementing in 2024, we're implementing a more email marketing where we're doing quick tip Tuesdays, which is going to be for productivity hacks and things like that. And then we'll have more blog posts up on our website about productivity, time management, efficiency in your business, and so on and so forth. So if you ever need more support, feel free to reach out. Obviously, if you can't tell, I love talking about all of this. So that is it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thanks, Brie. And in true fashion, we have 14 minutes now, yeah, 14 minutes for Q&A. But please, everyone, feel free to come off the mic. Feel free to throw something in the chat, something you want to talk about, any questions.
And I know it was a lot of information and we went through it really fast. You'll have this recording, right? And then also the slide deck as well. So
what type of system did you use? Oh, what type of system are you using for the blogs? Is that an app that you're using, or is that Excel?
For blogs?
The blocks, like your schedule, how you made the schedule.
The blocks. Yeah, I'm using Google Calendar.
Google Calendar, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you have Gmail, you automatically have Google Calendar. But if you're using you have an Apple phone or Windows phone, whatever, if you have a calendar function, typically they allow you to add another calendar on there. Or you can just, if you don't mind, if you want to just put it on your regular calendar, you can do that. You just add new events.
Aaron has a question in the chat. How do you recommend making these things a strict habit?
That is a great question, Aaron. For me, it's easy because this is my life and this is what I eat, sleep, breathe. But I know for other people, it is not easy. What I do is I constantly have, when I open my laptop, I constantly have that brain dump tab open. So it's kind of, staring me in the face and having that all the time. And then, as much as I hate to say this, discipline and creating a habit, it really is. I find that time blocking at night at the end of my day, so making that the last thing that I do every day when I'm working really, really helps. Because if I don't do it, then I won't do it. So I am the same way with I just kind of forget to do things. So having a set time to do things is really helpful. So I like to bookend. So time block at the end of the day, this is the last thing I do. I set up my day for the next day. I close my computer, and then the next morning I do my three things. And then I open up my computer, I look at my to-do list, I look at my priority list, and then I go. So really having that bookend helps me a lot. But it is, it's just unfortunately discipline, which stinks. But once it becomes a habit, I find that once you have success with it, and once you're like, oh, this actually really helps my productivity, it's a lot easier to stick with it. Let's see. You're welcome. Tony, any productivity tips for managing high email volume? Yes. Filters. If you're able to filter emails into different folders using labels is really, really helpful. Having an organized system in your inbox is huge. So being able to, if you get a lot of marketing emails, and also for everyone that's bought anything online, unsubscribe anytime you get one of those marketing emails that are automatically signing you up when you buy something, because that, I feel like, clutters our inboxes so much. So what I do is I unsubscribe anytime I get it. If you're like, I don't want to get these anymore, instead of just letting them come in and deleting them, unsubscribe, and that will help so much. Just do it right then and there. And then, like I said, if you say you have a bunch of emails coming in from a specific domain name or something like that, where you have to address them, filtering those into a folder and then keeping them unread. So that way, when they come in, you can see the label on the side is bolded. So you know there's a new email in there. I like to also have I have the alert emoji. It says need to do. I have a folder at the top. I put an underscore, so it's at the very top. And then if there's anything in my inbox that like I need to do, but I'm just going to do it later, I move that there and I use my inbox as a to-do list. So if it's in my inbox, it needs my attention. And then if it doesn't, it gets moved to a folder. Or if it needs my attention, but not right now, it goes into the need to do folder. So that way it's not crowding out my inbox. Let's see. Devin, what are your favorite organization methods for time efficiency with physical goods? Like, how do you organize the physical things in your life to save time? Ooh, I love this one. And my husband will probably, I drive him crazy. My pantry is like, I organize my pantry probably every quarter. I reorganize my fridge. I like to have things in not full on home edit, like with the clear bins and everything, but things organized so that there is a rhyme or reason to them. So having bins is really helpful. So I have bins for all my kids' snacks. So a bin for like all the crunchy snacks, a bin for all the fruit snacks and the granola bars and everything, a bin for juice boxes, just so like you can see everything. Same with like under all of my cabinets, everything has like totes or bins so that I can see everything and it's all lined up in a way that really works. Having things, if you need them in alphabetical order, that is one of my favorite ways to organize things is alphabetical order. So that, I hope that answers your question, but I find that having things readily available, having things that I can see them and then organize in a way where they're not just like a bunch of boxes stacked on top of each other is super, super helpful. Let's see. I think that's all of them so far. Does anybody else have any other questions? And if I answered your question and if you have follow-up questions, let me know.
Joanne.
Tips for staying motivated. Yeah, is that Joanne, motivation in task and time management or just in your business, or do you want to come off mute?
Yeah, task and time management.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's kind of like a snowball effect as far as like the more you do it, the easier it becomes, which of course is, with everything that we do. I love the brain dump. I think brain dumps are like the key to success, to be honest. I think writing everything down because of that brain to hand relationship. And there's a bunch of psychology behind it. I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole nother hour. But having that brain dump is really helpful, and doing that regularly, even like putting an alert on your phone maybe and doing like, okay, write your brain dump, maybe do it once a week. Having an alert on your phone to say, like, check your task list. Or I think the time blocking, especially when you do repeatable tasks, really, really helps. Even if you put, if you're using a calendar, of course, not everybody uses a calendar. But if you are using a calendar, having, sorry, I saw Jessica's my MB, your pantry organization. Yes. I think I drive my husband crazy, but I absolutely love it. Using a calendar, having those repeatable tasks, and knowing, even if you put like a task at the top of, just for every day, if like check your task list or whatever. But I do start with a brain dump, just maybe, and like I know people do journaling and motivation type things and like gratitude journals and things like that. I'll be 100% honest, I am terrible at journaling. I have a gratitude journal, I haven't touched it. I have a 1 line a day book where like you write one thing each day, and there's 5 years, so you can go back and see what you were doing the last year, which is really cool. I did it for like 3 days and I stopped because I'm so bad at it. But if so I am not always motivated for stuff like that. But if you can find a way that clicks in your brain that really is like something that you see on a regular basis, if it's having a sticky note on your desk, having a sticky note on your bathroom mirror, things like that, of to just remember to do it. I think that's the biggest thing, is to remember to time block, to remember to write your tasks. So however that clicks in your brain, I think will be really helpful, just reminding yourself to do it, and then taking the, save the slide deck, and you can reference it however long you want. If you need some inspiration, or if you're just like, Brie, motivate me, just message me on Instagram and I will say, you can do it. But yeah, I think figuring out a way that reminds you is the best way to do that. Let's see.
Brie, we had a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Stephanie asks, what are your tips to get back on track when you take time away from this practice?
Just do it. Start with a brain dump, honestly, because that, I find when I take time away, a lot of times I'll go, like, I won't time block all the time, but when I'm in my really busy seasons, or when I'm really overwhelmed, just mentally, if we're having a lot going on with my son, whatever, like, I will go back to time blocking. So it's something that you can go back and forth from. But I always say start with the brain dump, honestly, because that, it alleviates so much mental space and mental load that then you can start everything back up. And that's, task number one of doing all of this anyway.
Devin asks, how do you make time for social media content creation and interacting with followers? Do you allot a time of the day for that?
Devin, I love that question, because I hate social media. The thing about our business is that it's completely referral based, because I'm terrible at marketing. That is one thing, is like the death of me. That's my 2024 goal, is to actually have a marketing plan in place. I am terrible at it. That is the first thing to go. So that I don't think I can help you with. But what I can tell you is use time blocking. Block out time, put a repeatable thing. So every day at like 9 a.m. or whatever it is, that is your social media time. That's the time. Batching content, I know, is really helpful, because then you're in that zone where you're creating graphics, and create all your, what I do, even though I don't actually implement it, but for, like, we do LinkedIn management for one of our clients. I write out my entire calendar first, come up with all of the content ideas, and then I go in and I create all the graphics for like a week, and then I go in and write all of the copy. So that way I am batching those tasks. And so that way I'm not going back and forth between creating graphic and then writing copy and then so on and so forth. So time blocking and then batching that stuff, I think, will be really helpful. But I don't do it. So do as I say, not as I do.
No, that's really helpful. And then Dion has a question. It can be so overwhelming when you're trying to get artists that you're working with to stick to a schedule or deadline. And sometimes it's like herding cats. How do you handle this without people feeling like you're stalking them?
Well, I have really strong boundaries with my clients. When I send out a proposal, it gives them information on exactly how we work and exactly what's expected of them, but also is what is expected of us. So we hold ourselves to these standards, and we hold you to these standards. So if you want your stuff done on time, then you need to get your stuff to us on time. So it's almost like training your clients, training your artists. And if you're like, no BS, like this has to happen, or else you don't get your stuff, or you don't get our services, it tends to help. And so really, like, having those boundaries, having them firm, do not budge, do not allow them to slip up, maybe like one time, but remind them, like, this is how we work and this is how this happens. Now, people that, you can always retrain people you're already working with. So just, especially in the new year, it's really helpful, because everyone's like restarting things, and you can say, like, hey, we're putting these new things in place. This is how we're going to do this XYZ from now on. I find that that's really helpful. And just boundaries in everything is a beautiful thing.
Thank you,
I think
Brie.
that's
This is
everybody.
so helpful.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
it's so, so great. Boundaries. I love that. You're
Yes.
doing that. I'm doing that today. This is, I think that, like I said at the beginning, everyone has their own way of organizing and thinking through their tasks and time. But having tangible tips that you can take away and try out, is really helpful. So thank you for introducing us to so many
Absolutely.
of these. Tim, exactly. Or
Yeah.
not right now. I do love that. And I'll just share one thing I've been doing lately. At the start of the year, I loved your advice on moving to a new physical space. I think a lot of us are working from home or from a studio, and sometimes coffee shops are great, and sometimes it's distracting. Recently, I've been going to the public library, and these are free and they are easy to get to, and there's plenty of parking. And I definitely recommend that. I feel like I've had, even moments of those time blocks, taking an hour or two and going and sitting somewhere different really helps. So I loved that piece of advice. And
breweries are also a really great place to go work
during the day. That's true.
Yes, because there's not really a whole lot of people there. You can have a beer and relax a little bit. Yeah, there's a wine bar in Rock Hill because I live in the Rock Hill area, and there's a wine and coffee bar called Grapevine, and I go there a lot to work. And if I'm there like all day, I'll get coffee, and then maybe I'll get wine later, and I'll get some charcuterie, and it becomes like a party.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I love time and task management becoming our party for 2024. And if anyone wants to talk more about this, please reach out to us. We will have, we're going to have this deck available for you within a week on our website, and more information to come soon. But please continue joining us for these creative convos. We have a lot more happening in these next couple of months. So thank you, Brie, for enlightening us to start off our year on the right foot. And thank you everyone for making the time. We really appreciate it. Have a lovely
Thank you,
evening.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.